Welcome back to Timeless Retreat. In the first episode, we started a farm, died about 1,000,000 times to a raid, and built an enchanting table. In this episode, we're really gonna get busy and get the series rolling. So let's jump straight into it. I jumped around between a few different projects throughout this video, but I started with some terraforming in the areas I wanted to put my barn and animal pens. And while I was working on that, I found this cool little cave structure I want to build into at some point. I used light blocks over holes that I'm going to build over so mobs can't spawn. Then I took a short break from terraforming, which honestly didn't last long at all, and moved my wheat that was over by my pond up to my new wheat field so we can get that filled out. I knew if I was going to build a barn, I was going to need a lot more wood than I already had, and I had remembered I had crafted some auto planters, which would make that process even easier. I crafted up some more of those and started the process of making a lumber yard, which of course meant that I had to do some more terraforming. I laid out my auto planters, giving them about 5 blocks in between so those trees had room to grow, and then I paused to show off how good at Minecraft I am. A true professional, I know. Okay, back to laying out my auto planters. After getting them all placed, I just had to fill them up with saplings and we were good to go. But of course, I'm not gonna leave it like that. It needed a fence. I gathered a few stone and andesite variants, plus some matching walls, and laid them out sort of randomly all around the saplings. I wasn't going for anything super even or super circular, just trying to enclose them. It isn't completely finished by any means. I want to add decorations and pathing, but for now, we at least have the structure functional. We don't only need farms for the plants, we also need a space for the animals, so I started constructing pens up on one of the areas I terraformed. I wanted to keep everything cohesive with my house, so I used the same block palette. I used the stripped spruce logs, the willow planks, and the oak planks, plus the same bricks I had for the roof on my house. I used campfires to make a little overhang to make the structure more interesting. After deciding how I wanted the base structure to look like, I started building a fence around it. Then I started putting on the roof of the little shelter. And realized I was one stair short. I spent a couple more hours terraforming so I could fit the rest of my animal pens in the way I wanted them to. Surprisingly, I haven't actually mined that much dirt yet. I needed some more bricks, so I went to go trade with my mason villager and... oh my god, my villager's gone. Actually. I didn't let that stop me though. I went right back to resource gathering for my animal pens because I realized I had absolutely nowhere near enough resources. And the ugly cobblestone mess had to go because it has no purpose anymore. I'm not upset, you are. Back to resource gathering. I got mildly sidetracked and started a strip mine in the little cave I found at the beginning of the episode. And I opened up a little area on the side, so maybe we could use the horses and the mining carts eventually. I made note of this lava in case we needed it in the future. I had to stop what I was doing to take a picture of the kitty sleeping on my lap. I felt as though I gathered plenty of resources and resurfaced. I went straight back to crafting the materials I needed to finish my buildings. And as a little tip, you can strip wood in the stone cutter with my mod pack. I created different pens for sheep, pigs, cows, and chickens, but made sure the style was cohesive for all of them using the same block palette and a similar yet unique design. Right now, you are watching me build what ends up being the cow pen, which, spoiler alert, is identical to the pig pen, but we will really see the difference when I start adding smaller details in the next episodes. I kept the roof shorter on these bigger pens, and I think that was a pretty good decision. This is what I came up with for the bigger pens, and don't worry, we will add more detail soon. Now that I figured out the design, I just quickly replicated it onto the other structure. Onto my favorite part, detailing. I started it by making these spruce trapdoors to close off the underneath of the chicken coop. And per usual, I was one short. Next, I played around with designs for the stairs leading inside of the chicken coop. Ultimately, I settled on this design. I think it looks pretty cool. And the backside I kept a little more simple, but I like it a lot as well. I opened up this space up top to add windows and saw that the chickens could jump over the fence. So I had to completely redo this side of the fence so it looked nice and the chickens couldn't jump over, and then I just decided to do the rest of the fences while I was at it. I spent forever trying to make the details look good and not be too overwhelming, and I changed things about 1,000 times. During this process, I found what those pillars are probably actually meant to be used for, and I completely fell in love. I feel like this looks so good. I mean, look at that. And this is what I settled on for the side of the building. I added some windows for the big buildings and then took that same pillar design and added it to the other buildings. I also made some shutters and what I think is called parapets for around the windows. I was gonna put a flower box underneath the windows, but I forgot, so maybe I'll do that next episode. Here's me finishing the roof finally. And then I used the glass blower to create all the windows I'm gonna add to these builds. I went with this white stained glass because it matches the stuff on my house, and that way we could tie in the designs. And this other glass I felt like just fit for a farm. I think this is my favorite part of the entire animal pens is the inside of my chicken coop. I used the immersive furniture mod to create little chicken nests to put into the coop. It's literally so cute. I am obsessed with this mod and I'm obsessed with this detail. That wasn't good enough for me though. I wanted to make these designs even more me. You'll come to know I love taking pixel art patterns and putting them into my Minecraft world as details using the Chisel and Bits mod. And let me just clarify, these patterns are not my designs. I just find them on Pinterest. As you can see, I created a little rooster and some eggs on the chicken coop to give it some details. I wanted to put pixel art of the other animals on their pens, but I just didn't have enough space. I went with this small little flower design instead. And these are the finished animal pens. I'm super proud of these. We're going to be adding more detail in the actual pen. We're going to put feeders and dirt and mud. Eventually, I just ran out of time for today's episode, so we'll do that in another episode instead. I got distracted again and harvested and expanded my crop farm, but I was in desperate need of XP, so it worked out okay. What's an animal pen without animals? I started by just picking up animals and carrying them back to the pen, but that was not very efficient at all, so we changed our strategy. I set out on my little bird from Ice and Fire with some cage straps and just scooped up animals that I saw and needed. I had to be mindful of genders because the Dragon's Livestock Overhaul adds genders, so you can't just breed any animal, it has to be a male and female, which makes the process a little harder as well. Don't do it. No! Don't do it again. Now that we have our animals, all we have to do is just put them in their pens. And the sheep that was already being a pain, I somehow put it in the chicken coop, so I had to pick it up and put it back in its pen. And finally, now that we have levels, we're gonna enchant. I decided to start with a pickaxe, and we got Silk Touch, which is actually perfect because I wanted to gather some of that podzol by my house to put in the animal pens. That's gonna be all for today's episode. We got quite a bit done. You may have noticed I tried a different editing style, so feel free to leave any feedback.